Following my collapse at work, Dad called to ask if the $3,500 allowance was enough. Confused, I said, "I don't have an allowance." He fell silent. Mom had been sending every dollar to my sister for her modeling career. The hospital's fluorescent lights washed everything in this weird sickly green glow. And I was staring at the 4-drip taped to my arm when my phone buzzed. My dad's name lit up the screen, which threw me off because he basically only called on Sundays. "Hey kiddo, your supervisor reached out to us. Are you all right?" His voice had that tight, strained edge he got whenever he was trying not to freak out. I shifted on the scratchy paper of the hospital bed, listening to it crinkle under me. "Yeah, I'm okay. I just got a little lightheaded. They're keeping me overnight to be safe, but it's probably just stress and not eating enough." There was this long pause. "Not eating enough? Mara, isn't the allowance we send covering everything? If the $3,500 a month isn't enough, we can bump it up." My brain basically froze. "I'm sorry, what?" "The allowance," he repeated. "The money your mom deposits into your account each month. Is it not enough for groceries and basics?" My mouth went completely dry. "Dad, I haven't gotten any allowance. Not once. Not since I finished college 3 years ago." The silence dragged on so long I honestly thought the call cut out. When he finally spoke, everything about his voice had shifted. "Stay put. I'm calling your mother." He hung up before I could even breathe out a response. I lay there staring up at the acoustic tiles overhead, my thoughts spinning. 3 years at $3,500 a month, that was $126,000. Money meant to help me survive in one of the priciest cities in the country, while I worked 60-hour weeks at a marketing job that barely paid enough for my shoebox place in Queens. A nurse came in to check my vitals, and my blood pressure was still low, which is why I'd face-planted in the middle of a conference room during a major client presentation. I'd been getting by on ramen packets, dollar slices, and whatever free leftovers I could grab after office events. I dropped 15 pounds in half a year, and kept telling myself it was just part of the grind of trying to make it in New York. My phone rang again. This time it was my mom. "Mara, there seems to be some confusion," she began. "Where's my money?" I said, and I'd never spoken to her that way before. Growing up in our quiet Connecticut suburb, I was the dependable daughter, the one who aced her classes, chose an affordable state school on a scholarship, and never asked for anything extra. "It's not that straightforward," she said. Riley needed support. Of course. My younger sister, the family favorite, who skipped college because she wanted to be a model. "You've been giving my money to Riley. She had expenses," Mom insisted. "The headshots, the portfolio, the comp cards, the travel, the casting trips. Breaking into modeling in Miami is incredibly expensive, and she's finally making progress. She booked a swimsuit campaign last month." I started laughing, even though it made my pounding headache worse. "I've been eating expired yogurt out of the office fridge. I rotate between the same 3 outfits because I can't afford new work clothes. I haven't seen a dentist in 2 years. But Riley needed headshots?" "You have a job," Mom said defensively. "Riley was building a career. She needed help." "I'm building a career too," I snapped. "I'm trying to survive on $38,000 a year in New York City. Do you have any idea what that's like?" "You never said you were struggling." "Because I didn't want to dump my problems on you. Because you raised me to handle things on my own and not ask for help. Meanwhile, you were literally funneling money to Riley with funds Dad thought were going to me." Another pause. "Your father didn't need to know all the specifics of how I divided our family resources." And that's when it hit me. Dad has no idea, does he? He thinks he's been taking care of both of us the same way. What did you even tell him?" She didn't answer, which told me everything. "I have to go," I said. "They're about to discharge me." "Mara, don't be dramatic." I hung up on her. A doctor came in soon after and explained that I was severely malnourished and anemic. She asked if I was dealing with food insecurity, and I had to clarify that yes, technically I was, but not for lack of trying. The way she looked at me made me want to disappear into the floor. An hour later, my dad called again. "I'm driving to the city. We need to talk in person." "Dad, you don't have to. I'm already on the road." He arrived 4 hours later and stood in the doorway of my 400-square-foot studio, taking in the mattress on the floor because I couldn't afford a frame, the ancient mini fridge that barely ran, and the peeling paint the landlord wouldn't bother fixing. "How long have you been living like this?" he asked quietly. "Since I moved in," I said from my lone folding chair, my only furniture besides the mattress. "It's fine, Dad. A lot of people start out like this here." He walked over to the fridge and opened it, finding a jar of peanut butter, a half-gallon of milk, and sketchy Chinese leftovers I'd stretched into 3 meals. "Your mother swore she was depositing the money into your account every month," he said, still peering inside. "She even showed me the bank statements. Regular transfers. Never missed one." "To whose account?" He took out his phone and showed me. There it was. A joint account in Mom's and Riley's names, with the same $3,500 transferred each month, labeled as a support fund. I actually had to sit down on the floor. She made a fake account. She basically committed fraud just to feed money to Riley. "I'm not sure it's legally fraud," Dad said carefully, easing down beside me even though it must have hurt his knees. "It's still my income and she's my wife. But it's definitely something." He wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I should have checked in more. I should have paid attention. I just assumed." "You assumed Mom was being honest." "I assumed a lot," he admitted. Then he squeezed my arm gently. "Here's what we're doing next. First, I'm transferring $5,000 into your actual account right now so you can take care of immediate necessities. Second, you're coming home this weekend, and we're going to sit down for a full family meeting. Third, your mother is going to cut you a check for every last dollar that was supposed to be yours. Dad, you don't have $126,000 lying around." "Mara," he said firmly, "that number doesn't even include the interest you would have earned if you'd been able to save any of it. You could have built an emergency fund, started a retirement account, maybe even worked toward a down payment on a real apartment. Instead, you've been starving." The word hung between us like it weighed 100 pounds. "I'm handling this," he went on, sounding tougher than I'd ever heard him. "Your mother and I are going to have a very serious talk about honesty and trust when it comes to money, and Riley is about to learn that choices actually come with consequences." The family meeting that weekend was like dropping a match into gasoline. We sat around the dining room table where we used to have Sunday dinners back when I still came home regularly. Now the whole space felt strange, like a stage for a show I didn't want to be in. Riley strolled in late, naturally, sweeping into the room in designer workout gear and sipping one of those overpriced detox juices. She'd gotten extensions since the last time I saw her. Long, perfect blonde waves that probably cost more than a month of my rent. "What's going on?" she asked, plopping into a chair while scrolling on her phone. "I've got a casting at 4. Mark slid a sheet of paper across the table toward her. "That's a repayment plan. You're going to reimburse your sister for every cent that should have gone to her." Riley barely glanced up. "What are you even talking about?" "The $126,000 your mother siphoned away from Mara's allowance to bankroll your modeling career." Elaine winced at the word siphoned. "Mark, that's not fair. I was trying to support both our daughters." "By lying to me for 3 years? By letting Mara scrape by in near poverty, while Riley got professional glam for Instagram shoots?" Riley's face drained of color. "I didn't know. Mom just said she was helping me." "With someone else's money," I said, speaking to her directly for the first time. "Did it ever cross your mind to ask where all of it was coming from? Did you think Mom just had endless cash lying around for your dream?" "I thought Dad was helping me," Riley shot back, her voice climbing. "Mom said Dad wanted me to succeed." Mark's expression was cold enough to freeze a volcano. "I wanted to help both of you succeed. That was the agreement. Your mother chose to redirect funds behind my back." Elaine stood up abruptly. "I will not be treated as the villain here. Riley had a window of opportunity. Modeling has an expiration date. Mara's career could wait." Something inside me just snapped. "Wait? I've been waiting my whole life. Waiting for stability. Waiting to stop picking between keeping the lights on or buying groceries. Do you know what I did on my 25th birthday? I walked 40 blocks in the rain because I couldn't afford the subway. I showed up to work soaked. And I still stayed late because I was terrified of losing the only job keeping me off the street." "You're being dramatic," Mom said, but even she sounded unsure. Mark pulled out his phone and held it up. This is the discharge summary from the hospital. Malnourished. Anemic. Dehydrated. The doctor recommended a nutritionist and ongoing monitoring. Our daughter collapsed because she couldn't eat properly. Elaine. The fight drained right out of her face. Riley was crying now, black mascara streaking down her cheeks. I really didn't know, Mara. I swear I didn't know it was your money. But you knew somebody was footing the bill, I said. The Miami apartments, the shoots, the gym memberships, the meal prep services. You knew modeling doesn't pay up front. Where exactly did you think the funds were coming from? She didn't say anything because she couldn't. The repayment plan Dad created was brutal. Riley had to pay me $2,000 every month until the whole debt was cleared, plus interest at a modest 3% a year. I can't afford that, she whined. My rent alone is $2,500. Then get a roommate, Dad replied coolly. Get a day job. Figure it out the same way Mara has been figuring it out. Working part-time at a cafe or a store won't kill your career. Millions of aspiring models do it. Mara worked 2 jobs through college. You can manage one. Mom tried to jump in and negotiate, but Dad shut it down instantly. You've lost your credibility in this family, Elaine. I'm still trying to process what you did, and honestly, I don't know what our marriage looks like after this. For now, you're sleeping in the guest room. I had never heard my father speak to her like that. They had always looked solid, like some picture-perfect suburban couple. Watching that image crack felt almost as shocking as discovering the missing money. Mom wrote me a check that day for the full amount. Dad insisted she pull it from their joint savings account, which apparently had enough to cover it. We were saving for a kitchen remodel, he told me later. That can wait. This can't. I carried the check around in my purse for 3 days before I could convince myself to deposit it. Seeing all those zeros next to my name felt unreal. I'd never had more than $3,000 in my account at a time, and that was only briefly after a tax refund. The first thing I did was go to a doctor for a full workup. Then I went to the dentist, who found 3 cavities that had been brewing for a while. I paid for the fillings in cash, and honestly it felt like a small victory. Even though no one was watching, I bought groceries without glancing at the price tags. I stood in Trader Joe's, filling my cart with fresh produce and real cheese and the fancy granola I always used to pass by. And I cried while the cashier scanned everything. When she asked if I was okay, I just nodded because I didn't know how to tell her I was grieving years of needless deprivation. I bought actual furniture. A bed frame, a desk, a decent chair, kitchen tools that amounted to more than 1 pot and 2 forks, plus clothes that fit and weren't scraped from the clearance rack. I finally got my hair trimmed at an actual salon instead of the beauty school where trainees practiced on whoever was desperate enough. But even with the upgrade, the anger still lingered under my skin. Every time I bought something basic, something I should have been able to afford years ago, I caught myself thinking about Riley. Riley getting spray tans and lash extensions. Riley lounging at pool parties with other would-be models, drinking overpriced cocktails. Riley's Instagram feed that I used to swipe through late at night, packed with beach shoots and sponsored posts for whitening kits. And I kept thinking about my mother, who had looked me straight in the eye at every holiday dinner and asked how I was holding up, all while she quietly funneled away money that could have changed my life. She'd listened to me talk about picking up freelance gigs on weekends, and somehow didn't feel even a flicker of guilt strong enough to make her tell the truth. Work turned into my safe place after everything blew up. My coworkers didn't know the whole story, just that I'd had a health scare and was on the mend, and they were kind in that brisk New York way. They'd bring me coffee, skip scheduling early meetings, ask if I needed anything without pushing for personal details. Then one afternoon my boss, Jennifer, called me into her office. She was in her late 40s, sharp as a blade, and the sort of woman who managed to intimidate and motivate me at the same time. "Close the door," she said, and my stomach dropped, because even after the raise Dad gave me, I still lived with the fear that everything I had could slip away in a second. She motioned to the chair across from her. "I'm going to be straightforward. When you collapsed, it shook me. It made me realize I'd been pushing you too hard without checking whether you even had the support to keep up." "I'm fine now," I blurted. "It won't happen again. I'm not finished." She leaned back, studying me. I dug around a bit, looked at what we're paying you. "Mara, you're one of our top performers, and we've been severely underpaying you compared to the rest of the industry." My pulse kicked up. I'm fixing that immediately. Your salary is now $85,000, and we're promoting you to senior account manager. You'll also get a $10,000 signing bonus, which you should have received half a year ago. I just stared at her, stunned. She kept going. And I'm putting you on track for associate director. Keep up your current pace and you'll hit that within 18 months. That's a six-figure role with equity options. I don't know what to say. I finally managed. Say you'll stop trying to run your life on sheer willpower. Say you'll take lunch breaks and actually use your vacation days. Say you'll treat yourself like the asset you are instead of someone who has to earn permission just to exist. Her expression softened a little. I have a daughter around your age. If she were suffering the way you were, I'd want someone to step in for her. I left her office and went straight to the bathroom to cry, though this time the tears weren't about fear or shame. It felt like relief or maybe the shock of being seen after years of feeling invisible. The first payment from Riley came in late. Dad called to tell me. She says the casting didn't pay what she expected, and she had to cover her rent. So she's already defaulting, I said. I'm dealing with it, he replied. I'll cover this month, but I told her next time there will be consequences. Dad, you can't keep rescuing her. That's how all this started. He let out a heavy sigh. I know. Old habits die hard. I'll do better. But then he paid the second month, too. Riley said her agency was delayed. And the third month when she claimed she had emergency dental work. I finally confronted him. You're letting her slide. I'm not, he said, sounding torn. She's my daughter too, Mara. I'm trying to keep things balanced. There is no balance, I told him. There's responsibility or there isn't. She's 24. If her modeling isn't covering her lifestyle, then her lifestyle needs to change. You're right, he admitted quietly. But she's struggling. I struggled for 3 years while she lived it up in Miami, I reminded him. And that's when it hit me. Dad was never going to enforce the repayment plan. He loved us both too much to watch Riley suffer, even if that suffering was simply the result of her own decisions. So I decided to take things into my own hands. Riley's Instagram had around 15,000 followers. Not massive for influencer standards, but not small either. She tagged brands constantly, hoping for sponsors. Her feed showed her journey as a model, carefully filtered images that made her life look glamorous and effortlessly dreamy. I spent a week watching everything she posted. Stories showing her morning routine, complete with $20 smoothies. Photos from rooftop pools captioned with lines about manifestation and gratitude. Videos of her prepping for castings using makeup palettes that used to cost more than my entire grocery budget. What hit me hardest was the image she'd built. The gritty underdog chasing her dreams, fighting the odds. She posted quotes about grit and sticking with it. She talked about rejection and pushing through the tough moments. But nowhere did she mention the safety net under her. Nowhere did she acknowledge the steady stream of money that kept her safe from real consequences. She never once admitted that her hardship was curated. So I made a burner account and started leaving comments. Nothing hostile. Just questions. How do you afford Miami on model pay? Must be nice having family support. Love that your parents funded your dream while your sister went hungry. Those comments disappeared almost immediately. Riley was scrubbing her page clean, keeping her storyline intact. So I changed tactics. I found other aspiring models in her comments, people genuinely struggling, and started responding to them instead. I asked about their experiences, their hurdles, their day-to-day grind. I built credibility first, and once the account looked real enough, I started asking the same questions on Riley's posts, only this time from a profile with a believable history and normal engagement, something harder to dismiss as a random troll. Before long, other people started chiming in with their own questions, and once the algorithm caught the spike in activity, her comment sections turned into a mix of loyal supporters and people who were suddenly very curious. One girl, another model wrote, "Girl, I'm eating rice and beans every day and taking 2 buses to my castings. Drop the secret to that lifestyle." Someone else added, "The cognitive dissonance of posting your struggle from a luxury apartment is wild." I watched it all unfold with a sense of satisfaction that probably didn't paint me in the best moral light, but honestly I'd spent 3 years being the good one, the quiet one, the one who suffered without complaint, and where had that gotten me? Then a person who went to high school with both of us connected the dots in a single comment. Wait, isn't your sister Mara working like 80 hours a week in New York? Didn't she collapse from not eating? But your parents were bankrolling your modeling? That comment blew up. Screenshots started circulating. Someone made a TikTok about it, one of those dramatic storytime videos, and it pulled in 200,000 views. I kept waiting for the guilt to hit, but instead I felt vindicated, like the universe had finally tilted a millimeter in my favor. My phone rang at 2 in the morning. It was Riley, completely hysterical. What did you do? What the hell did you do? I genuinely don't know what you're talking about, I said, lying in my new bed in my new apartment, surrounded by furniture bought with the money that should have been mine years earlier. The comments. The TikToks. Someone leaked our whole family situation, and now everyone thinks I'm some spoiled brat who stole from my sister. Did you? I asked. I didn't know. You know I didn't know. I know you chose not to ask because pretending ignorance was easier. She was breathing hard. People are sending me death threats, Mara. They're calling me a parasite. They're messaging the brands I work with and trying to get me dropped. My agency said they're reevaluating things. Do you understand what you've done to me? I didn't do anything, I said calmly. I didn't tell anyone anything. But here's a thought. Maybe if you'd spent the last few months actually paying me back instead of coming up with excuses, you'd have something to point to. Something that showed people you were trying. I was going to pay, she cried. I just needed time. You needed time to keep living the exact same way without any actual accountability. You wanted the image of making amends, not the work. She was sobbing now, those broken hiccuping sobs. Please just post something. Tell people it's not as bad as it sounds. Tell them we're fixing things as a family. Are we? I asked. Because Mark has been making your payments for you. Silence, except for her shaky breathing. You didn't know I knew that, did you? He told me he was enforcing the plan, but he couldn't handle watching you struggle, so he covered for you. Exactly the way Mom did. And you've been letting him. What do you want from me? She whispered, sounding completely beaten down. I want you to get a real job. I want you to move someplace you can actually afford. I want you to understand what it's like to check your balance before buying coffee. To meal prep rice and beans for a week. To lie awake doing math over whether you can turn the heat on. I want you to experience the life I lived. You want me to suffer. I want you to grow up. I hung up before she could say anything else. The fallout was swift and brutal. Riley's Instagram turned into a battleground. Some people defended her, insisting she'd just been misled by Elaine, but others were relentless, digging up old posts and pointing out every luxury she'd never questioned. One user created a side-by-side comparison, screenshots of Riley's designer outfits and pricey brunch plates next to a breakdown of what I'd been surviving on. While she was spending $40 on avocado toast, I'd been scraping expired food from the office fridge. While she got $200 hair treatments, I collapsed from malnutrition. Make it make sense, they wrote, and the post went insanely viral, like millions of views viral. News outlets picked it up as a story about privilege and family betrayal. A Connecticut station even covered my hospital incident and titled it, "Local Woman Collapses from Malnutrition, While Sister Lives Lavishly on Diverted Allowance." They interviewed people from our high school, teachers who remembered me as the hardworking one, remembered Riley as the girl who always landed on her feet. Elaine called me furious. Are you happy now? Is this what you wanted? Your sister's life is falling apart, just like mine is. This isn't the same, I told her. She's being criticized online. I was literally starving. Quietly. Invisibly. But that was fine with you. I raised you better than this hateful behavior. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. No, you raised me to be a doormat. To smile and accept scraps. To never expect fairness. Well, I'm not that person anymore. She's your sister, she snapped. And I was your daughter, I shot back. Did that matter when you were taking from me? She didn't have a response. 2 days after the big TikTok explosion, Riley posted an apology video. She was barefaced, sitting on what looked like her bed, eyes puffy and red. The script was clearly crafted by someone who knew PR. I want to talk about the situation with my sister, she said, voice trembling. First, I want to say I take full responsibility for my actions. Even though I didn't fully understand what was happening. I was privileged and I didn't ask the questions I should have. She paused, wiping her face. My mom told me our dad wanted to support my modeling career, and I believed her without checking. She went on saying, that was naive and selfish. While I was chasing my dreams, my sister was facing struggles I can't even wrap my head around, and I benefited from money that should have been hers. The comments were already pouring in, half supportive and half suspicious. I'm stepping back from modeling to focus on personal growth and fixing what I broke, she continued. I've gotten a job. I'm moving somewhere cheaper. And I'm going to pay my sister back every penny I owe her, plus interest. It's going to take years, and it should. Actions come with consequences, and I need to face mine. Then she looked straight into the camera. To my sister Mara. If you're watching this, I know I can't undo the hurt. I know an apology isn't enough. But I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that I've changed, that I understand what I did, and that I'm committed to making it right. You deserved better from me, from our family, from everyone. I am so sorry. The video ended and I watched it 3 times, studying her face for signs of performance or manipulation. Maybe some of it was an act. Maybe she'd learned how to project sincerity the same way she'd learned to pose for a camera. Or maybe buried underneath the polish and the coaching there was something real. I still didn't comment. But I did notice 2 weeks later when she posted a picture wearing a uniform from a high-end boutique in Miami's design district. The caption said, Day 1. Building something real this time. The comments were far more encouraging now. People love a redemption story. I set my phone down and went back to work. She was now selling clothes to the exact kind of women she'd once tried so hard to become, and I couldn't help but appreciate the irony. She moved into a cheaper place with 2 roommates, and her posts got less curated, less glossy. The first payment that actually came from her account instead of Mark's didn't show up until 4 months after the original arrangement. It was only $1,500 instead of the agreed $2,000, but it was something. I didn't thank her. I just sent a receipt and a running tally of what remained. Meanwhile, my mother kept trying to rebuild things through long emails, pages of explanations about how she'd meant well, how she thought she was helping us both in different ways, how she hoped for forgiveness someday. I read them but didn't answer. What could I say? Sorry didn't refill my fridge during those years. Sorry didn't replace the nutrients my body lacked or erase the humiliation of using a food pantry. Sorry didn't erase the way I used to check my balance before every purchase. 6 months after everything came out, Mark and Elaine separated. He got a condo closer to the city, and he and I started having dinner once a month, just us, no pretenses. The divorce was quiet but harsh. His lawyer had told him to document everything. The false account, the transfers, the deception. In Connecticut, financial infidelity counted toward a fault-based divorce, which meant Elaine risked losing a significant share of assets. I don't want to destroy her, Mark said over a plate of pasta at a little Italian place near his condo. But I can't pretend this didn't happen. The trust is gone. You could have done this privately, I told him. Separated without explaining why. He shook his head. Your mother needs to face consequences. If I shield her again, if I protect her from the fallout, then nothing changes. She'll just learn how to hide things better. Seeing this version of my dad felt strange. Growing up, he was the mediator, the calm one, always smoothing tension. Now he was drawing boundaries, choosing accountability over comfort. How are you handling all of this? I asked. Honestly. He set down his fork, thinking. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I feel like I didn't know the woman I was married to for 3 decades. And I feel like I failed you by not paying closer attention, by trusting blindly, by not checking on you more, by not noticing the signs. He looked at me with this deep, painful honesty. You lost weight, Mara. A lot of weight. Your clothes were hanging off you the last few times we saw you. And I convinced myself you were just busy. I didn't want to pry. I thought giving you space was the right call. And that choice almost cost your life. Dad, let me finish, he said gently. I'm proud of you for surviving everything. For building a life even when the deck was stacked against you. But I'm sorry you had to be that strong. You should have been able to lean on us. You should have had room to fail safely, knowing your family would catch you. Instead, we pushed you off a cliff and expected you to fly. I never heard him speak like that. In our house, feelings were usually kept tidy, expressed through actions rather than words. This raw honesty was new terrain for both of us. I'm okay now, I told him, though even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. Are you? He asked softly. Or have you just gotten good at pretending? The question hit me straight in the chest. As he was right. I had stability now, but I still checked my bank app constantly. Still felt guilty buying anything unnecessary. Still woke up some nights convinced everything could fall apart again. I'm in therapy, I admitted, trying to work through it. Good, he said, and he reached across the table to squeeze my hand. I should have been there sooner. I'm sorry I wasn't. The divorce was finalized 8 months later. Elaine kept the house but had to refinance to buy out Mark's portion. He got most of the liquid assets, which felt fair considering what had happened. She was also ordered to cover his legal fees, something her attorney fought tooth and nail against, but the judge didn't budge. I didn't go to the final hearing, and neither did Riley, though she was still talking to both of our parents, trying to keep some kind of connection alive. I didn't blame her for that. She was stuck in the middle of something impossible, and unlike me, she still believed a family could somehow knit itself back together. I should have noticed, Mark said over pasta one night. All the signs were there. You lost weight. You stopped coming home. You sounded stressed every time we talked. I just assumed you were grinding, paying your dues. You trusted Mom, I said. That's not a flaw. It is when that trust ends up hurting my kid. We sat there in quiet for a while and then he asked how work was going. I'd gotten a promotion at last. The collapse weirdly became a turning point. My boss felt awful for pushing me so hard, and when I came back they restructured my workload and bumped my salary. I was up to $65,000 now, which still wasn't amazing for New York, but with the money Elaine had repaid, I was finally saving for the first time in my life. I'm proud of you, Mark said. You made it through something that would have crushed a lot of people. The truth was I hadn't just survived. I'd been shattered, and was only now learning how to function with the cracks. Therapy helped. I found a sliding scale clinic and started working through the betrayal, the anger, the grief of realizing the family I thought I had didn't really exist. My therapist asked if I ever wanted to pursue forgiveness. Maybe someday, I told her. But not today. Riley sent me a Christmas card the first year after everything blew up, generic winter scene on the front, a handwritten note inside. I know I can't undo what happened, but I'm trying to be better. I hope you can see that. I put it in a drawer without replying. The next year she sent another longer card. She'd been promoted to assistant manager at the boutique, was taking business classes at the community college, and was dreaming about opening her own shop one day, sustainable, ethical, all that. She included a $3,000 check, extra on top of her usual payments. I deposited it. Still didn't respond. The third year she showed up at my apartment. I almost didn't open the door. She stood in the hallway, nervous and small, holding a carrier with 2 coffees. I should have called, she said. But I was afraid you'd say no. I would have, I told her. Yeah, I figured. She shifted awkwardly. I'm in the city for a trade show. Fashion Week stuff. I thought maybe we could talk. Slamming the door would have felt final, maybe even satisfying. But curiosity tugged at me. Curiosity about who she was now. This Riley who worked retail, who went to community college instead of chasing photo spreads. You've got 10 minutes, I said, stepping aside. We sat on my couch, the nice one I bought with my reclaimed money, and sipped our coffees in stiff silence. Your place is beautiful, she said eventually. Thanks. I can afford furniture now. She flinched. I deserve that. You deserve worse, I said. But I'm trying not to be petty. Are you? She asked. Because the Instagram thing was pretty petty. I always wondered if she knew. Do you have proof it was me? No, she admitted. But who else would it be? She put her cup down and took a breath. Look, I'm not here to rehash everything. I know I messed up. I know I was selfish and clueless, and that I gained from Mom's lies. I know all of it. Then why are you here? Because you're my sister, and I miss you. Something twisted painfully in my chest. You miss the sister who didn't know you stole from her. That person's gone. I know, she whispered. But maybe we can figure out who we are now. Without Mom running interference. Without Dad trying to smooth things over. Just us. I wanted to say no. Wanted to hold on to the anger. Anger was clean, simple, didn't require exposing anything vulnerable. But I was tired. 3 years of rage had drained me. I don't forgive you, I said plainly. I might never forgive you. But I'm willing to see if we can be in the same room without me wanting to set you on fire. A startled, messy laugh escaped her. That's fair. Honestly, that's generous. We started meeting for coffee once a month, then twice. At first the conversations were stiff, sticking to safe topics, but gradually a rhythm formed. She told me about the boutique, how she realized she preferred the business side of fashion to modeling, how she was learning inventory management, customer service, profit margins, how she'd finally understood that modeling had been crushing her, making her obsess over her body and compete constantly. I told her about work, the clients I was pitching, the campaigns I was proud of, the life I was building piece by piece. We didn't talk about Elaine much. She was still in the house in Connecticut, still technically married to Mark, though they lived apart. She'd started therapy too, according to Riley. They had lunch sometimes. I didn't join. She asks about you, Riley said once. She can keep asking, I replied. 4 years after the collapse in that conference room, Riley made her final payment. The statement showed a zero balance, interest included. She'd even paid ahead some months, doubling up during bonuses or tax seasons. She took me out to dinner to celebrate, someplace nice in the West Village. We split a bottle of wine and ordered appetizers we didn't need. I know this doesn't make us even, she said, holding up her glass. Money can't buy back the years or the trust or the relationship we had. But it's done. I finished what I promised. I tapped my glass against hers. You did. So what now? She asked. I've been thinking about that for a long time. The sharp anger had softened into something more like grief. Grief for the sisters we once were. For the family that fell apart. And maybe a little hope that something new could grow in the aftermath. I don't know, I said. But I'm open to finding out. It wasn't forgiveness. It was something messier, more real. A recognition that people are flawed, families get tangled, and sometimes the best you can do is show up and try again. After dinner, we walked the High Line talking about everything and nothing. Riley showed me sketches and business plans for the store she wanted to open. I told her about the promotion I was in the running for, how I finally felt steady, safe, proud of the life I was rebuilding. I'm sorry I wasn't there for the hard part, she said softly as the sun lit the Hudson in gold. You were the hard part, I answered. I know. She looked at me, eyes steady. But I'm here now. If you'll let me be. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who fainted in a conference room, who rationed food and trudged through storms to save subway fare, who lost her sense of family in one brutal revelation. She was still inside me. Her scars were mine. But I'd grown past her too, stronger, tougher, more protective of myself. And maybe, just maybe, there was space in this newer version of me for a sister who had finally learned how to show up. We'll see, I said. Not yes, not no, just a beginning. We walked toward the subway in comfortable silence. Two sisters with a tangled past and an uncertain future, taking it one step at a time. And for now that was enough.